What if the reason he pulls away is because he's finally beginning to feel something real? You don't expect it. At first, it's beautiful. He's attentive, soft, honest in a way that stirs something in you that's been sleeping for a long time. You start to believe, maybe this time, it's different. Maybe this time, it's safe to exhale. But then, like clockwork, he retreats. Not in a loud, dramatic exit. It's quieter than that. He takes a little longer to text back. He stops reaching out first. And though he's still around, something in him is gone. You feel it before you can explain it. You tell yourself not to overreact, but your chest tightens with every silence. Why does this happen? Why do they pull away when it finally begins to feel like love? In this video, we're going to unravel something most people don't talk about. We'll go beneath the surface of what looks like emotional withdrawal, but is often rooted in deeper, invisible wounds. And as we walk through this together, you might begin to see it was never about you being too much or not enough. He pulls away not because he doesn't care, but sometimes because he starts to. This is not a lecture, not a list, not a diagnosis. This is a quiet reflection, a doorway into the mind of a man who feels something he never learned how to hold. And if you've ever found yourself staring at a phone, questioning your worth because someone you loved disappeared the moment it got real, then this is for you. If you're ready to stop blaming yourself, to stop shrinking every time someone pulls away, and to finally feel seen in your own story, then I invite you to stay. And if this reaches somewhere in you that's been aching for answers, go ahead and gently like the video. Maybe subscribe. Not for numbers, but so this kind of truth finds the people who need it most. We're just getting started. Let's begin with the first reason. The first reason he pulls away when he starts falling in love is because the feeling is unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels dangerous. He may not say it out loud, and he probably doesn't even realize it fully. But inside, love is waking up a part of him that has long been asleep, or worse, hidden. When love enters, it doesn't just bring softness, it brings mirrors. It reflects who he is, who he was, and all the versions of himself he never dared to face. Suddenly, you're not just someone he likes, you're someone who sees him. And to be seen like that, it's not always comforting. For someone who's carried shame or grown up without safe love, intimacy is not warmth, it's exposure. So he recoils. It's not because he doesn't feel. It's because feeling threatens everything he learned to survive without. And now, the rules are breaking. The game has changed. The walls he built, brick by brick, to keep the world from getting in, are starting to crack. And your love, gentle as it is, feels like a wrecking ball. He starts to question everything. Am I enough for her? What if I fail her? What if I open my heart and she changes her mind? He won't tell you these thoughts. He might not even have the words. But inside, it's a storm. He'll try to control it, maybe by pulling back, creating space, acting distant, even cold. Because if he can dull the feeling before it grows, maybe he can avoid the part where he loses it all. He tells himself, I need clarity. I need to think. But often, what he really needs is to feel safe, and no one ever taught him how. To a man who's never felt real love without condition, your tenderness feels like a test he's sure he's going to fail. That's why it's easier to disappear than disappoint. That's why he pushes you away even as he dreams of pulling you closer. That's why he stops calling, even as he replays your voice in his head. Love has arrived, and he is not ready, but that's not your fault. This is not about you being too good or too open or too much. It's about a man at war with a love he wants more than he's allowed himself to have. And if you've ever felt confused by someone who once looked at you like you were everything, then looked away like you were nothing. This is what's beneath that silence. There is a wound he's been hiding, and your love brushed against it. The second reason he pulls away when he starts falling in love is because love asks for surrender, and surrender requires trust. Trust sounds simple until you realize how rare it is, especially for someone who's lived most of their life relying only on themselves. He may be the strong one, the one who fixes everything, the one who shows up for everyone else. But when it comes to letting someone in, really in, he flinches, not because he doesn't want to let go, but because no one ever held him when he did. He's been taught that needing someone makes him weak, that opening his heart makes him vulnerable to being used, betrayed, or forgotten. So when he begins to feel close to you, when the walls start melting and the guard he's worn for years begins to slip, it doesn't feel like falling in love. It feels like falling into danger. You, on the other hand, are probably giving from a place of presence. You're showing up. You're available. You're emotionally naked in ways he finds beautiful but terrifying. You're saying without words, "I'm here. I won't hurt you." But he doesn't hear that. He hears the ghost of the past whisper, "She'll leave too," or worse, "She'll see all of you and change her mind." So what does he do? He finds a way to pull away before you can. He creates distance not because he's lost interest, but because he's trying to find ground again. The feelings are too intense. The emotions rise like a tide, and he's never been taught how to swim. He needs control, because in his mind, control equals safety. And love is chaos. Beautiful, wild, soft chaos. So he withdraws. Not fully, just enough. Enough to remind himself that he can still breathe without you. That he can still protect his heart if it all goes wrong. That he hasn't completely surrendered yet. And you, sensing this shift, begin to question yourself. You wonder what you did wrong. You wonder why someone who once made you feel chosen now feels unreachable. But it's not your fault. You didn't break it. You just touched something fragile. A place in him that learned long ago that safety means silence, and love means loss. Sometimes, the most tender kind of love exposes the parts of us that were never held. And for him, falling for you doesn't just mean giving you his heart. It means confronting every moment he spent, believing he wasn't worthy of being loved in return. So he disappears, just a little, trying to gather himself. But behind that silence, he's feeling more than he knows how to express. Behind that pause is a heart learning, for the first time, that love doesn't always mean pain. The third reason he pulls away when he starts falling in love is because love makes him confront the version of himself he thought he had outrun. Maybe he's worked hard to build a life that looks solid. Maybe he's spent years becoming dependable, successful, put together. From the outside, it seems like he has everything handled. He's the guy who doesn't miss a beat. But real love doesn't just admire the surface, it looks underneath. And when you look at him, you don't just see the version he presents to the world. You see the boy still hidden beneath the man, the one who was told to toughen up, the one who was ignored when he cried, the one who learned early that softness could be punished. Falling in love with you pulls him back into that place, not because you make him weak, but because you make him feel. And feeling for him is risky business. Love doesn't let him keep pretending. Suddenly, he's not so sure of himself. You bring out a tenderness he doesn't know what to do with. He finds himself staring at the ceiling at night, wondering if he's good enough for you, wondering if he can live up to the version of him that you seem to believe in. He starts to notice his old fears creeping back in. The fear of abandonment, the fear of disappointing you, the fear of becoming someone unlovable, just like he feared he was back then. It's not your love that frightens him. It's the reflection it offers. He begins to hear the voice he thought he'd buried. You're not ready. You're too damaged. She deserves someone better. So he pulls away, not because he doesn't care, but because he does. And in caring, he feels exposed. He feels responsible. He doesn't want to fail you. He doesn't want you to see the cracks in his armor. He doesn't want to risk showing you the mess behind the mask. You see, when a man has spent his whole life surviving by pretending everything's fine, love can feel like a threat to the system. Because real love's safe, unconditional love requires him to put the mask down. But that mask protected him. That mask helped him survive. And now you're asking him, without asking, to live without it. It's not rejection. It's reckoning. He retreats because he feels seen, and he's not sure he knows how to stay seen without falling apart. And somewhere inside, he fears that if you see him too clearly, you'll leave. Just like the people before you. Just like he always expected. But you're not here to fix him. You're not here to pull him out. You're just here, and your presence is the quiet revolution. But sometimes, presence is so unfamiliar that it's easier to run back into the familiar cage. That's why he vanishes. Not because he's over you, but because he's overwhelmed by the version of himself he's becoming in your light. The fourth reason he pulls away when he starts falling in love is because love forces him to feel powerless, and powerlessness scares him more than loneliness ever did. This one goes deeper than most people ever notice. He's lived in a world that praised him for being in control, for knowing what to do, for being the one who has it all together. Maybe he was taught that emotions should be managed, not felt. That vulnerability is something to keep hidden, not shared. And in that world, falling in love isn't a celebration, it's a risk. Because love strips you bare. It invites chaos, the beautiful kind. The kind that rearranges you from the inside out. The kind that makes you want to wake up early just to hear their voice, and stay up late just to be near their breath. The kind that ruins your plans in the best, most terrifying way. He begins to lose control not in life, but in feeling. He can't explain why the sound of your laughter makes his chest ache. He can't understand why missing you makes him restless. Why your touch feels like home and danger at once. He starts to realize, you matter now, and that makes him vulnerable. You see, before you, he had control. He could keep things casual. He could stay detached. He could walk away whenever he wanted. But now, walking away would hurt. Now, losing you would cost him something. And that terrifies him more than he wants to admit. Because powerlessness is a feeling he's avoided all his life. Maybe he once cried in a room where no one came. Maybe he once waited for someone to choose him, and they never did. Maybe he once believed he wasn't worth loving unless he earned it. So he vowed to never need anyone again. But now you're here, and he needs you in a way that's not logical, in a way that can't be explained away by distraction or detachment. And with that need comes a deep, unsettling truth. You could break him. You could leave. You could grow tired. You could love him today and forget him tomorrow. You could get close enough to touch the place he's never let anyone near, and then walk away like it meant nothing. So instead of risking that, he pulls back. He'd rather sabotage the connection himself than wait for the moment you change your mind. He'd rather be the one to leave first than the one left behind again. It gives him the illusion of power, of safety, but inside, it hurts him just as much as it hurts you. Because deep down, he doesn't want to lose you. He just doesn't know how to hold something this real without losing himself. He doesn't need saving. He needs time. He needs space. He needs the safety of knowing that love doesn't mean surrendering his dignity, that needing someone doesn't mean becoming powerless again. That in your eyes, he is still a man even in his most tender, uncertain moments. So when he disappears behind silence, it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he's never felt this much, and for the first time, he can't control what happens next. The fifth reason he pulls away when he starts falling in love is because love threatens the identity he's spent his whole life building. You see, we all carry stories about who we are. Stories that shape the way we move, the way we give, the way we protect ourselves. And his story, whether he knows it or not, might go something like this. I'm the one who gets left. Or, I'm better alone. Or, I'm too broken for love. He may not say these things out loud. He may laugh, flirt, connect, show up. But underneath, there's a quiet belief that love, real love, is for someone else, someone softer, someone less messy, someone who didn't grow up learning that love always comes with pain. So when he meets you, when he begins to fall for you, those old stories start to tremble, because now he's no longer just the man who walks alone. Now he's the man who hopes, who dreams, who craves, and that is unfamiliar terrain. There's a part of him scared and loyal to the past that whispers, "This isn't who we are. Don't get too close. Don't believe this. You'll only get hurt." Love doesn't just ask him to open his heart. It asks him to rewrite everything he believed about himself. And that is not a small ask. He's terrified that if he leans in, if he lets you all the way in, he will lose the version of himself that kept him safe all these years. Even if that version was lonely, even if that version was numb, it was familiar. And familiar often feels safer than true happiness. So he pulls away, sometimes subtly, sometimes suddenly, sometimes with silence, sometimes with excuses. But always, beneath it all, there's a part of him asking, who am I if I am truly loved? Because love changes things. It shifts identity. It softens armor. It makes warriors out of men who were raised to never feel. And for him, becoming that version of himself, raw, present, unguarded, is not just hard, it's identity shattering. So when he vanishes from your warmth, when he stops calling or starts hesitating, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's rebellion. A rebellion against the love that's asking him to become more than he thought he could be. And maybe that love is you. But hear this. It's not your job to fight his demons. It's not your job to prove that you're safe. Your love is not a negotiation. It's a gift. You showed him a version of himself that scares him because it's real. Because it doesn't match the story he's been telling. Because for the first time, he saw a future, and it looked nothing like the past he thought he was doomed to repeat. He may come back, he may not, but what you gave him, the mirror, the presence, the truth, it mattered. It planted something, and even if he walks away, something in him will never be the same. So what do you do when he pulls away? What do you do when someone who once looked at you with quiet awe now looks through you, like they're trying not to feel? What do you do when you know it wasn't your fault, but it still hurts like hell? First, you stop chasing what's running, not because you're giving up, but because your love isn't meant to beg. Your presence isn't a question mark. It's a gift, and you were never meant to convince someone of your worth. Let him pull away. Let him sit with the silence. Let him feel the weight of what it means to be seen and still retreat. Not as punishment, but as a sacred pause. Because the truth is, his pulling away says more about his healing than your value. This is where it gets hard, I know, because you probably want to explain, to fix, to soften the distance between you. But sometimes, love means letting someone wrestle with themselves. You may not get the closure you crave. You may not get the apology or the full circle moment, but you can get your peace back. You can stop carrying the burden of his silence like it's proof that you're unlovable. You're not unlovable. You're just brave enough to love people who haven't learned how to stay. Take a breath. Let your heart break open, not because it failed, but because it dared. You showed up with presence, with vulnerability. You looked at another human being and said, "Here I am. I'm not pretending. I'm not performing. I'm not playing games." And that's more powerful than any love that plays tug of war with your worth. If he comes back, let it be because he grew, not because you shrank. If he doesn't, let him go with love. But don't let the absence convince you that the love was an illusion. It wasn't. You changed him. And maybe you'll never know how. Maybe he'll never say it out loud. But somewhere deep within him, the part that once feared softness now remembers your eyes. The way they didn't judge. The way they waited. The way they saw him. You were not too much. You were the moment he realized love isn't a weakness but a mirror. Now, you get to choose yourself again, with no shame, with no bitterness, with the quiet knowing that your love was never wasted. So thank you for being the kind of person who doesn't run from depth, for listening, for feeling, for remembering what it means to stay soft in a world that teaches us to harden. If this resonated, if it found that place in you that's still healing, share this with someone who needs it, or subscribe, or leave a quiet comment below. Not for algorithms, but for connection, for truth, for others who are trying to find themselves in someone else's silence. You're not alone in this. You're becoming.